Nobody showed up to my graduation. Not a single familiar face. The stadium was huge and bright, sunlight bouncing off rows and rows of seats. When they called my name, Camila Lane Reed, Master of Data Analytics, I stood, walked, and accepted my diploma. But when I looked over at the row reserved for my family, it was empty, clean, cold metal seats glinting like they were mocking me. I forced a smile for the photo, holding my diploma tight, pretending it didn't sting. But the ache sat there, heavy and old, the kind of ache that had been growing for years from birthdays unattended, achievements ignored, and countless small moments where I stood alone. 3 days later, I got a text from my mom. No congratulations, no how did it go, just a sterile little message on the screen. Need $100 for your sister's sweet 16. I stared at it. Every instinct in me, every conditioned habit, told me to send the money, to be the good daughter, the responsible one, the wallet disguised as a family member. But something in me finally hesitated. Something small, but alive. I sent her $1, wrote congrats. Then I picked up the spare key she insisted on keeping for emergencies and tossed it straight into the trash. It felt like a ceremony, a tiny rebellion, my first step toward reclaiming my life. Narration softens. The stadium that day was supposed to be my moment. Sunlight on navy gowns, families cheering, balloons swaying. Everywhere I looked, someone was being hugged, photographed, celebrated. And there I was, standing alone with a diploma, the smile I had to stitch together myself. A classmate, Ruby, ran up to me, beaming, radiant, her parents snapping photos behind her. You did it. Where's your family? Running late. And the lie slipped out effortlessly. I'd had years of practice. Yeah, running late. Later, in the parking lot, surrounded by celebrating families, I sat in my beat-up Civic and watched everything slip away. For just a moment, I imagined my parents walking toward me. My mom with Avery in glitter sneakers, my dad holding flowers, and the image was so clear it hurt. But then engines started, crowds dispersed, and reality settled back in. I thought about every other milestone they'd missed. Birthdays, ceremonies, awards, all those empty chairs through the years, reflecting this one. And I realized how much of my life I had lived trying to earn affection that was never meant to be given. Pause. Deep breath. I'd spent my teenage years working like a second parent. 2 jobs, double shifts, Starbucks at dawn. My hands always smelled like espresso and cardboard sleeves. I'd sneak looks at my phone during shifts to see texts from my mom. Thanks, honey. Avery needs piano lessons. She has a field trip. Just a little extra. When she told me, "You're our pride," I actually believed her. I thought love sounded like gratitude. But later, I understood. It had always been obligation in a costume. When I got into grad school, I told myself this would change everything. I thought a degree, something shiny and official, would finally make them see me, see my worth, see me. But 3 days after that empty graduation, another text came. Need $2,100 for your sister's sweet 16. My cap and gown were still hanging by the door. My bank account had barely $3,000. And there she was, not asking about my graduation, not asking how I felt, but asking for more money. That was the breaking point. I sent $1, typed congrats, and something inside me, something that had been ignored for years, finally stood up. I changed the locks. A locksmith came, this older guy with steady hands and a calm voice. When the lock clicked into place, something in me clicked too. A new boundary, a new beginning. But peace only lasted an hour. The knocking started, firm, insistent. When I opened the door, 2 police officers stood there. Denver police. "Miss Reed, your mother called. She's worried you might harm yourself." I almost laughed, not out of humor, out of disbelief. My mother had called the police on me because I changed the locks and stopped sending money. I let them in. My apartment was spotless, diploma framed, coffee mug on the table, laptop open. The officer looked around, then at me. "Do you seem unstable?" I asked him. He almost smiled. "Not even close. Ma'am, they left after filing a no concern report. And when the door closed, the silence felt different, heavy, but mine. That was the moment I realized. When you finally stand up for yourself, the people who benefited from your silence will call it an attack. They don't respond with reflection. They respond with panic. My mother didn't just cross a line that day. She declared war on my boundaries. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to fight back. 3 days after graduation, my phone buzzed. I glanced down expecting maybe, foolishly, a late congratulations. But the screen said, "Need $2,100 for Avery's Sweet 16. No, how was the ceremony? No, we're proud of you." Just another invoice disguised as a text message. For years, money had been the only language my family spoke to me. Love never came in words or hugs, just dollar signs. But this time, it didn't wash over me the way it used to. Something hard and tired inside me finally pushed back. I typed $1, added congrats, hit send. Then I walked to the drawer by the door, pulled out the spare key my mother insisted on having, and dropped it into the trash. It made a soft, final sound when it hit the bottom. That night, a locksmith came. He fitted a new lock, clicked it into place, and for the first time ever, my front door felt like mine. That sound, metal settling, turning, securing, was my first real boundary. The next morning, it was raining, the kind of steady, curtain-like rain that makes everything feel slower. I was drinking coffee when the knocking started. Not frantic, just firm, official. I opened the door to the police officers. Denver police, the taller one said, calm but concerned. "Your mother called. She's worried about your well-being. Said you changed your locks." I stared at them, then motioned them inside. My apartment was spotless. Diploma on the wall, dishes done, laptop open. "Do I look unstable to you?" I asked. The officer's mouth twitched, the closest thing to a smile he could manage on duty. "Not even close, ma'am." They asked a few routine questions, wrote a no concern report, and left. As the door closed, I felt it again. That boundary. My mother hadn't been worried. She'd been angry. She didn't like my no, and she used the biggest weapon she had, fear and authority. But for the first time, it didn't work. The next day, I checked my credit. I don't even know why. Maybe intuition, maybe paranoia, maybe the voice in my head finally waking up. And there it was, 2 new credit accounts opened in my name, both using my parents' address, both already racking up charges, balloon arches, catering deposits, DJ fees, all for Avery's Sweet 16. I just stared at the numbers, then at my name written in digital ink I never placed there, and I whispered into the empty room. She didn't just manipulate me, she became me. I called the bank, verified the fraud, started the process, and for the first time in a long time, silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the inhale before a storm. I met them at a diner. Neutral territory, the kind of place with cracked leather booths and a waitress who's worked there since the 80s. My parents walked in the way they always did. My mom leading, armored in a floral dress and oversized sunglasses. My dad trailing behind, quiet and shrinking into himself. Avery didn't look up from her phone. "You really made us drive all the way here?" My mom asked, sitting down like she owned the place. "We're talking," I said. Not eating, I slid a folder across the table. Capital One, Discover, screenshots, dates, balances, fraud, alerts, investigations, her signature forged on documents she didn't think I'd ever see. Her smile cracked first. "I don't know what," she started. "Yes," I said. "You do." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shake. I laid everything out like evidence in a courtroom, as calmly as if I were reading a grocery list. My dad finally whispered, "Can't we fix this privately?" "No," I said. "The bank already knows." That moment, the silence that followed, was the first time I ever saw my mother look afraid. Not of consequences, not of legal trouble, but of losing control. After the diner, I went home and got to work. I froze my credit, filed FTC reports, called every card company, organized all my documents into folders with tabs, fraud, locks, diploma, police report, everything that had happened in the last week. All of it now my armor dot as I slid the papers into place. I whispered, every boundary I set is a line in the sand, and I felt it. Not relief, not triumph, but something steadier, something like ownership dot in the days that followed. I wrote. I journaled every detail, every realization, every memory of the years I spent earning love that was never mine to receive. The more I wrote, the clearer it became. I was not defined by what they took. I was defined by what I chose to protect now. Rebuilding trust in myself became my top priority. Every decision I made was intentional. Every boundary was reinforced. It felt like building a house, brick by brick, choice by choice, until the foundation was finally mine. One evening, while rain tapped lightly on the windows, I listened again to the voicemail my mother had left before calling the police. Her voice cracked in the exact places it always did when she wanted something, guilt dressed as concern, manipulation disguised as love. For the first time, I heard it clearly, not as a daughter, but as an adult who finally understood the game. Reclaiming power wasn't loud. It wasn't revenge. It was clarity. It was choosing myself calmly, deliberately. By morning, I felt something new. Authority. I checked my accounts, reviewed my reports, made my coffee. The quiet wasn't lonely anymore. It was mine. And I said it softly, out loud. I will not be invisible. I will not be borrowed from. I am unstoppable. Every sweet 16 came and went. I saw pictures online. Balloon arches, neon lights, a DJ, fake champagne towers. It didn't sting the way I thought it would. Because victory wasn't humiliating anyone. Victory was integrity. It was protection. It was independence. Months later, I started my new job. My coworkers respected me. My paycheck was mine. My boundaries held. And my life, finally, was under my control. One night, as the sun set through my apartment window, I whispered, I've chosen myself. Every choice, every boundary, every moment, mine alone. Freedom wasn't loud. It was quiet, intentional, unyielding. And that was the real victory. The peace, the beginning of my life. For anyone who's ever been exploited, ignored, or treated like a resource instead of a person, know this: your power is in your boundaries, your choices, your ability to reclaim what is yours. You don't need permission to choose yourself, just courage, and one small, deliberate act to start.